Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you very much for joining today. We are going to continue with the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the last part of Krishna's Vrindavan Leela. And so this is chapters 39 and 40 of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavad Puran. So I wanted to seek your good wishes and your blessings so that we can look into these chapters and do an overview so that we know what is in the Bhagavatam. Now, this is text number 36. Yavad alakshyate ketu yavad renurathasya cha anuprasthapita mano lekhya nivopalakshitaha. Seeing their minds after Krishna, sending their minds after Krishna, the gopis stood as motionless as figures in a painting. They remained there as long as the flag atop the chariot was visible, and even until they could not see the dust raised by the chariot wheels. So these are really difficult moments for the gopis because they're going to be in separation from the Supreme Lord. So this chapter is called Akru's Vision and describes how Akru informed Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram of Kamsa's plans and his activities in Mathura. He also describes what the gopis cried out in distress when Krishna left from Mathura, and also the vision of Lord Vishnu's abode that Akru saw within the vision, within the water of the Yamuna. So, Krishna, first of all, he questions Akru. He asks him, how is Kams treating you and your family? What are his plans? He also asked Akru why he had come to Braj. So then, a little bit more detail. How was Kams treating their dear relatives and friends? What was he planning to do? Was your trip comfortable? Are our well-wishers and friends and relatives, both close and distant, happy and in good health? And then he questions himself, why am I asking? Just see how much suffering I have caused my offenseless parents. Because of me, their sons were killed and they themselves imprisoned. So this is Krishna's humility. He's asking Akru, why am I asking you these questions about your relatives, if they're happy or not? I have been the one causing the suffering to my own parents. Mm-hmm. So he answers, in response to the Supreme Lord's request, Akru, the descendant of Mathu, described the whole situation, including King Kam's enmity towards the Yadus and his attempt to murder Vasudeva. Akru relayed the message that he had been sent to deliver. So the message was from Kams, that he wants you to come, you and Balaram, to Mathura and witness a wonderful wrestling match. He also described Kamsa's real intentions. Of course, the idea was that Kamsa wanted to kill Krishna and Balaram. Krishna and Balaram laughed when they heard Akru's words. The Lord then informed their father, the lordships then informed their father, Nand Maharaj, of Kamsa's orders. So Nand Maharaj, he then told everybody, issued orders to the cowherd men to by making the following announcement throughout Vrindavan Braj. Go and collect all available milk products. Bring valuable gifts and your wagons. Tomorrow we shall go to Mathura, present our milk products to the king, and see a very great festival. The residents of all outlying districts are also going. When the young gopis heard that Akru had come to Braj to take Krishna and Balaram to the city of Mathura, they became extremely distressed. Some gopis felt so pained that their faces turned pale from the heavy breathing. Others were so anguished that their dresses, bracelets, braids became loose. Other gopis entirely stopped their sensory activities and became fixed in meditation on Krishna. And still other young women fainted simply by remembering the words of Krishna. These words were the words that, yes, we will go to Mathura, him telling his father. The gopis were frightened at the prospect of even the briefest separation from Lord Mukunda. Remembering his graceful gait, his pastime, affectionate, smiling glances, his heroic deeds, and his joking words, they gathered in groups and spoke to one another, their faces covered with tears and their minds fully absorbed in Achyuta. So this is the scene following day, actually. They're on the chariot. There's a crew there, and the gopis, there's one fainted here, one begging, pleading, one holding Krishna's hand, stopping the horses, stopping the chariot driver, crew. This gopi is begging, Lord, please don't go. These gopis are trying to stop the chariot from moving. Really, really difficult situation for the gopis. They were overwhelmed with anxiety. And they spoke to the Lord, "O Providence, you are so cruel. You bring together friends and senselessly separate them before their desires are fulfilled. You show us Mukund's face, then make him invisible to us. Although you have come to us as Akrur," so they're addressing Akrur now, "you are the most cruel, for you are taking away our eyes." So Akrur, when you add a before the Sanskrit word, it means the opposite. So cruel means cruel, nasty. Akrur means kind, but actually they're saying, no, you are just cruel. You're cruel because you've taken Krishna away. We've given up everything to Krishna, for Krishna. But now he does not even look our way. All the Mathura ladies will now enjoy his association. And once he has fallen under the spell of the honey sweet words of the women of Mathura and has been enchanted by their alluring shy smiles, how will he ever return to us unsophisticated village girls? So they were thinking he will go to the city and he will enjoy the company of sophisticated ladies. Although Krishna has mounted his chariot, no one is stopping him. So let us now stop him ourselves. How can our family elders and other relatives do this to us? How can we exist without Krishna, who captivated us with his flute, the Ras dance, every day returning from the forest in the evening? After speaking these words, the ladies of Braja, who were so attached to Krishna, felt very agitated. They fought, "Oh shame," and loudly cried out, "Oh Govinda, oh Damoda, oh Madhava." So this is again, even the Gopas, they were very distressed. Krishna's going. They were in shock. How can he go? They had a gut feeling he ain't going to return. In spite of Krishna asking the gopis not to obstruct their way, they all surrounded the chariot and stood up to see Krishna with pitiable eyes. Krishna was very much affected upon seeing the plight of the gopis, but his duty was to start for Mathura. This is a really amazing painting. It's got so much detail. Even as the gopis cried out, a crew began to drive the chariot with cowherd men following behind. Lord Krishna pacified the gopis with his glances and then sent a messenger who said, "I will return." The gopis stood motionless until they could no longer see the dust raised by the chariot wheels. Full of sorrow, they began to spend their days and nights chanting about the pastimes of their beloved Krishna, without hope that Govinda will ever return to them. For Krishna was 11 years, 6 months, and 5 days old at that time. The gopis condemned the activities of Akrura as he was taking Krishna. But out of love, they said Krishna is also not so intelligent, as he has already seated himself on the chariot. They petitioned the elders to stop Krishna, or the demigods to send natural disturbances to stop him. Krishna told them, he will come back very soon. The gopis could not be persuaded to disperse. The chariot, however, began to head west. And as it proceeded, the minds of the gopis followed it as far as possible. They watched the flag on the chariot as long as it was visible. Finally, they could only see the dust of the chariot in the distance. Gopis did not move from their place, but stood until the chariot could not be seen at all. They remained standing still as if they were painted pictures, being greatly disturbed by the absence of Krishna. They simply thought all day and night about his pastimes, and thus derived some consolation. So their thoughts were completely in Krishna, completely. Just like when he left them in the Ras dance, the intensity of their desire to be with him increased unlimitedly. So similarly, when he leaves for Mathura, the Brijvasis get intense attachment to the Supreme Lord through separation. So then, while traveling in the chariot, Lord Krishna and Balaram and Akrura reached the river Kalindi, Yamuna. After Lord Krishna had touched her for purification, he drank some from his hand. Then he had his chariot moved near a grove of trees and climbed back on, along with Balaram. At this moment, Akrura, after taking permission, went to the lake to have a shower, have a bath. This is the Vedic tradition. As Akrura recited mantras in the Yamuna, he saw Krishna and Balaram were in the water with him. Akrura thought, how can the two sons of Anaka Dumdubi, who are seated in the chariot, be standing there in the water, here in the water? They must have left the chariot. But when he came out of the river, there they were on the chariot, just as before, asking himself, was the vision I had of them in the water an illusion? So then Akrura re-entered the Yamuna. In the water, he saw Anantashesh being worshipped by demigods and demons. Then he saw the Supreme Lord lying peacefully on the lap of Ananta. Akrura saw the following features of the Lord. So this is a very nice description in this part of the Bhagavatam. He had thousands of heads, thousands of hoods, thousands of helmets. His blue garments and fair complexion as white as filaments of a lotus stem. He was lying peacefully on the lap of Lord Anantashesh. The complexion of that Lord was like a dark blue cloud. He wore yellow garments and had 4 arms and reddish lotus petal eyes. His face looked attractive and cheerful with his smile, endearing glance and lovely eyebrows. His raised nose and finely formed ears and beautiful cheeks and reddish lips. The Lord's broad shoulders and expansive chest were beautiful, and his arms long and stout. His neck resembled a conch shell, his navel was deep, and his abdomen bore lines like those on a banyan leaf. He had large loins and hips, thick like an elephant's trunk, and shapely knees. His raised ankles reflected the brilliant effulgence emanating from his toes, adorned with a helmet, bracelets, and armlets, a belt, sacred thread, necklaces, ankle bells, and earrings. He held a lotus flower in one hand, and in the other hands, he held a conch shell, disc, and club. Gracing his chest were this Shivatsa mark, the Kastuba gem, and a flower garland. So this is a really little idea of what Akrura was seeing. There he is, Akrura. You're seeing the Lord with all those wonderful features. This was Lord Mahavishnu, because Akrura's mood was that of his worshipable deity was Mahavishnu. So this is what Krishna showed him. And together with Akrura was also the Devatas and great sages who were offering prayers to the Lord. Encircling the Lord and worshipping him were Nanda, Sunanda, Sanaka, and other Kumaras. Brahma, Rudra are the chief demigods, Prahlad and Narad. Each of these personalities were worshipping the Lord by chanting sanctified words of praise in their own unique mood. Also in attendance were the Lord's principal internal energies and pleasure potency energy, Shakti. Excuse me. As the great devotee Akrura beheld all this, he became extremely pleased and felt enthused with transcendental devotion. His intense ecstasy caused his bodily hairs to stand on end and tears to flow from his eyes, drenching his entire body. Akrura bowed down his head to the ground. There he joined his palms in supplication, and in a voice choked with emotion, very slowly and attentively began to pray. So this is the end of chapter 39, which is all about Krishna's being taken away from Vrindavan by Akrura and Akrura's vision and the gopis' lamentation. Any questions, any comments?
Prabhuji,
Yes. Anyway.
why was he called Akrura? And what was his relationship to Krishna and Balram? I think they're related, isn't it?
Yes, he was their uncle.
Okay.
Because Akrura was also was he the exact brother, the brother of,
Was it?
here, I've got it. Yeah, Vrishni was his father. Vrishni was Akrura's father. And Vrishni also had a brother, Andaka, who had the son of Ugrasen. Ugrasen gave birth to Kamsa. So he was related to Kamsa. He was related to Vasudeva, because Vasudeva was also the son of Surasen. And Surasen was the grandson of Vrishni. So there's quite a connection between them. There's quite a connection between them. So he's like it was treated like his uncle, and he isn't his uncle effectively. Is that okay?
And, yeah, that's okay. And also, I had, sorry, Prabhuji. Yes, carry on.
You know, go on.
No, I had read somewhere that Akrura stand behind, sort of with Kamsa, so that he had always had the dream to see the Lord. He said, if I stayed behind, there's a possibility that I may be able to see Lord Krishna again. And he tolerated whatever was happening in Mathura.
That's right. That's right. Because what happened, you're absolutely right. When Kamsa took over, all of the Vrishni kings, they left. They went to different parts of the kingdom. No, not the kingdom. They went outside the kingdom because they couldn't tolerate Kamsa and his crazy attitude, mentality. But you're right. Two people stayed back. One was Vasudeva, partly because he kept a word to Kamsa, and he didn't leave Kamsa, or he didn't leave Mathura. he also wanted to see Krishna and Balaram in due course of time. But the other was Akrur. Akrur could have left, but he stayed back because he knew one day he would have the vision of Krishna and Balaram.
Yeah.
And he was very thankful to Kamsa actually for sending him to Mathura, even though it was a really horrible mission to lure the lordships to Mathura to kill them. So he was happy that Kamsa actually gave him this opportunity to see Krishna and Balaram in Vrindavan.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Thank you.
And in terms of his name, I'm not quite sure what his name actually means. But it's funny how the gopis turned it around, that you are not Akrur, you're cruel.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Okay, so let's go to chapter 40. This is the last of the Braj Leela chapters. After this, he performs Leelas in Mathura, and then after that in Dwarka. So, and at this point, at the end of chapter 40, we will have a break. So let's look at this verse. Text number 9 of chapter 40. Sarva eva yujanti tvam sarva deva maheshwaram yapi anya devata bhakata yadiyapi anya diya prabho. But all these people, my Lord, even those who have turned their attention away from you and are worshipping other deities, are actually worshipping you alone, or embodiment of the demigods. These are wonderful prayers by Akrur now. Oh, yeah, okay. All people worship Krishna. So this was the this verse number 9 falls within this category here. Akrur prayed, I bow down to you, this original supreme person from whose navel Brahma appeared. All the elements, sense objects. So the elements he's talking about are the 5 gross elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. And demigods are born from your transcendental body. Since you are beyond the modes of nature, even Brahma, who is bound up in these modes, does not know your true identity. Pure yogis worship you. Of course, our Brahma is a pure devotee of the Lord, so he understands who Lord Krishna is. Pure devotees worship you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Actually, different people worship you in different ways. So this is the really nice. Brahmins worship you by chanting mantras from the 3 Vedas and performing elaborate fire sacrifices for the various demigods. The philosophers, they worship you in the pursuit of spiritual knowledge. Others whose intelligence is pure, following the injunctions of Vaishnava scriptures, worship you as the one Supreme Lord, manifesting in multiple forms. There's still others who worship you, the Supreme Lord, in the form of Shiva. And we know that, right? There's 2 types of followers in Hinduism, the Vaishnavas and the Shaivites, generally speaking. They follow the path described by him and interpreted in various ways by many teachers. But then he makes the point, all these people are actually worshipping you alone, either indirectly or directly. So if we're worshipping him indirectly, there may be a fault in that, but still we're worshipping the Supreme Lord. So this is really interesting. Then he describes the universal form, your material nature entangles all living, conditioned living entities, from Brahma down to the non-moving creatures. I offer my obeisances to you, the supreme soul of all beings, who witnesses everyone's consciousness with unbiased vision. Fire is said to be your face, the earth, your feet. So this is the description of the universal form. The sun, your eyes, in the sky, your navel. The passage of the day and night is the blinking of your eyes, and all the worlds originate in you. Then it describes the different incarnations. To perform your pastimes, you appear in various incarnations, which cleanse away all unhappiness of your devotees. And he offers his obeisances to Matsya, who swam about in the ocean of dissolution, to Hayagriva, the killer of Madhu, and Kaitaba, to the immense tortoise, Lord Kurma, who supported Mandara mountain, to the boar incarnation, Varaha, who enjoyed lifting the earth, to you, the amazing lion, Nrsimha, who removes your saintly devotees' fears, to the dwarf, Vaman, who stepped over the three worlds, to the Lord of the Brigus, who cut down the forest of conceited royal order. Who is that, may I ask? Who do you think that is? Yes, good. Well done. To Rama, the best of the Raghu dynasty, who put an end to the demon Ravan. To the Lord of the Satpatas, to your forms of Vasudev, Shankarasham, Pradumna, and Niruddha, to your form as faultless Lord Buddha, who bewilder the Daitas, to Lord Kalki, the annihilator of the meat eaters, posing as kings. So this is really amazing. He's remembering all the avatars of the Lord. And then he's got a request, a very humble request. O Supreme Lord, the living entities in this world are bewildered by your illusionary energy, becoming involved in the false concept of I and my. They are forced to wander along the path of fruitive work. O Lord, I am too deluded, thinking my body, family, and money to be real. So this is our biggest issue. These prayers actually are really amazing prayers because they explain our condition. We are in this false conception of thinking I and mine, everything around me is mine. And this family belongs to me, body belongs to me, money belongs to me. But they're unreal, just like a dream. Or they're temporary, they will disappear very soon. Thus, mistaking source of happiness, I have tried to enjoy material dualities, not recognizing you as a real object of my love. And so I have turned away from you. My intelligence is so crippled that I cannot find the strength to curb my mind, which is constantly being dragged here and there by my senses. Thus I am approaching you for shelter, although the impure can never attain your feet. I think it is nevertheless possible by your mercy. I wish to develop consciousness of you by serving your devotees. O Lord of the mind and senses, I surrendered unto you. Please protect me. These are glorious prayers. These 8 verses are a very good summary of our situation and perhaps a fantastic prayer that we can also recite to the Lord now and then. So that's the end of chapter 40. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Any questions, any comments? Okay, otherwise, yes, Kamakshi.
I think I misheard you, or I don't know, but I just Googled meaning of akrur, and it says krur means cruel. I'm sure cruel comes from krur. Akrur means the opposite, means not
That's
cruel.
Right. That's right.
Yeah,
that's correct. He's named not cruel, but the gopis, they turned it around.
Yeah,
said, you are not akru, you are kru.
Because they didn't want him to go. Yeah, and I always realize how many English words are borrowed from Sanskrit.
Right.
Cruel is, I'm sure, from krur. Haribol.
Definitely. Thank you for
Thanks,
sharing
Mataji.
that.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very good.
They're multitasking. Mataji is multitasking today.
Well, would you believe me? I'm cooking as well. So you're right.
So definitely multitasking.
Thank you. Haribol.
Very good.
Haribol.
Yes, Riansh.
Yesterday you told about Narad Muni tells some sages. So is there any specific name for the group of sages?
Which sages are these?
Prabhuji, yesterday you told Narad Muni discussed the past time with some sages.
He
So-
actually was, he met Kamsa first, and then he met Krishna as well. So it was actually, he was discussing it with Krishna himself. And he was telling Krishna, he was actually describing Krishna's pastimes, but then he was also describing Krishna's future pastimes as he had appeared in Dwapar Yuga. So he told him, you will be killing Kamsa, you will be setting up Dwaka, you will be marrying these wives, you will be going to heaven to collect the Parijata flower for your wife Satyabhama. So he was actually not talking to sages at that time. He was talking to the Lord himself. Oops. We've lost Vianch. He's back again. So, Naniben, anything you wanted to ask about this chapter?
No, Prabhuji. No, that's nice prayers.
Yeah, phenomenal prayers. These last 8 verses of the 40th chapter, very powerful prayers. Actually.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. You're back.
I guess only I had internet issue.
Oh yeah. So I was saying that Narad Muni wasn't discussing anything with the sages, other sages. He was actually talking to the Supreme Lord himself, Krishna. And he was describing to Krishna about his future pastimes. So, Madhusudan Prabhu.
Jai Haribol.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, amazingly, we got to chapter 30. 40. Wow, still a lot to go through. But yeah, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. It's wonderful. This, obviously, I'll read it out from what I was. So yeah, these pastimes are obviously very sad, as you know, the gopis and the Brajbasis are going to be very much feeling the separation again, you know, from Krishna. And as Akrura takes Krishna and Balaram to Mathura. So it's amazing how Narad, even Nand Maharaj very quickly says, oh, come on, get everything ready. We got to go. And amazingly, they take all the ghee, the butter as taxes. You know, at that time, even Kans used to demand tax from people, but they used to pay it in products like they produce, you know, and especially ghee, and that's what they specialized in, you know, milk products. It's amazing that, you know, recently there's a push towards in UP, Yogi Adityanath has announced that those who are butchers or meat they should actually get involved in selling milk and milk products instead of meat. And there's, you know, again, this agenda of meat-free and liquor-free Mathura and all that. So see how it develops. But again, you know, it's a, you know, again, separation intensifies the love they have for Krishna. And also Akrura gets to have a vision of the Lord's potencies whilst bathing in the Yamuna. We should make a study of these potencies. Examples, Shri, Pushti, Gir. There's so many potencies mentioned, and Vishwanath Chakravarti, Srila Prabhupada quotes him as describing all these different potencies. Even Kirti, like for beauty and things like that. And Urja is his internal potency for performing pastimes. And she expands as Tulsi plant in this world. So be aware of all the different potencies. Be able to understand from these pastimes the reason why Lord appears in his transcendental manner to please his devotees, and this includes annihilating demons like Kans. So it says in the Bhagavad Gita that, you know, Paritranam paritranaya sadhunam vinasaya cha dushkritam. So to please the devotees and annihilate the demons, Krishna appears again and again. So that's revealing this pastime. Chapter 40 is again, as we mentioned, Akrura's prayers are worth studying deeply and reveal the special mercy of Krishna. And as he himself, Akrura finishes off by saying, being thus fallen, I am approaching your feet for shelter, O Lord, because although the impure can never attain your feet, I think it is nonetheless possible by your mercy. Only when one's material life has ceased, O lotus navel Lord, can one develop consciousness of you by serving your pure devotees. So again, through the mercy, Krishna's special mercy is always, giving us a chance to serve any pure devotee somewhere that actually makes it possible for us to have the Krishna consciousness. We can develop our Krishna consciousness. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Oh, thank you.
Hari
Thank
Bol.
you so much. Any questions? Any comments? Otherwise, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai,
Ki jai.
Vrindavan Leela ki jai. So just